Well, good morning. I'm just leaving for a walk this morning. There's the Rosewood. Looking snazzy. We have the badminton net out on the front lawn now. Yesterday was Friday, so it was a little bit of TGIF and a little bit of a badminton tournament going on. Today's a nice sunny day again. I've already stretched and I'm out for an early morning walk. I was thinking, and I don't know what the purpose of this was, but I thought I'd tell you a little bit of story time. When I was a teenager, I would go get a summer job every year in high school. And one year, I think I was about 17 years old. I was all happy because I saved up enough money throughout the year to buy my first motorcycle. It was a Yamaha 1980 something Yamaha 250 Exciter, little street bike. And it was great to learn on. I outgrew it in about 6 weeks. And that was my wheels. That's what I had to get around on. And I would normally get jobs, summer jobs, in the construction industry. I would work for a framer or a drywall contractor or a bricklayer or one of those kinds of things. But for some reason that summer, that didn't work out, and I ended up getting myself a job at a factory. So I got myself a job at Bix Pickles. I don't know if you know Bix Pickles where you are, but Bix Pickles, pickles in a jar. They're big here in Canada, and they're very delicious. I like Bix Pickles very much, and I thought that I would I'd go work for them for my summer job. So I got the job, and then I started. So I get on my little Yamaha 250 Exciter and ride every morning to go to work bright and early. Probably about a 25-minute ride or so. And just loving life, get to ride motorcycles. This is great. My first time really having my own bike like that. And I could ride the whole week on a tank of gas, and it probably only cost me $4 back then to fill it or something. So I'd ride to work, and then they're teaching me the jobs on the assembly line. So I'm just gonna show you this quick. Look at this beautiful little path. We're going to the Port Sydney Dam. So I had a couple of jobs on the assembly line. The first was at the entry of the line. They had a forklift that would bring skids of boxes of empty jars. And there's two of us, myself and this other guy, would take the empty jar, the box, flip it over, open it up from the bottom side, and then flip it onto the table, and then push it into the assembly line, and it would take them. And all these jars, empty jars, are whistling through the factory now, kind of like the beginning of Laverne and Shirley, if you remember that show, with all the beer bottles sliding by. It was that kind of thing. So I'll show you this now. This beautiful view. So that was my first of 3 jobs there. And all 3 jobs, this whole scenario, probably only lasted about 2.5 weeks or so, because I couldn't stand it. That's me working for Bix Pickles was my realization that I can't work for a factory. I can't work in an assembly line scenario as one of the assembly line type workers. The other part that I realized was that the boiling of pickles, or yeah, I guess they're pickles at that point. The boiling of them in that factory made me sick. It was so putrid. And then they had this, the forklift was propane powered. It wasn't electric, it was propane. So it's got propane exhaust indoors coming in and out all day long. So between the propane exhaust and the smell of those boiling pickles all day long for the whole first 2 weeks, I felt I was going to throw up the entire time. And to pay in the ass on an assembly line, to go to the bathroom, you have to get someone to come and take your place while you go to the bathroom. So that was a pain in the ass, trying to get someone to come and help me take my place, so I could go to the bathroom. And then sometimes I'd throw up and sometimes I wouldn't. But the whole 2 weeks, first 2 weeks, every day, every minute, I felt like I was going to throw up. So I had that was the first job. The second job at Bix Pickles was on the opposite end of the line. When the pickles were finished, they'd come off, and a machine would put it in the boxes, and then it would be myself and 2 other partners, and we'd take the boxes as they're coming off the line. You got to keep up, and you'd build the wooden pallet skids. You'd build the whatever shape they wanted and the pattern with each level of the cases of pickles, depending on how many cases they wanted per skid for that run or whatever. And then they'd go on trucks. But that job wasn't too bad, but then they didn't keep me there. And then the last job, which looking back seems kind of horrendous. I don't know, it might be getting a little loud here, so I'm just going to show you what the dam looks like again. I know you've probably already seen this before, but there's a little catwalk that goes over top of the dam. This is the Muskoka River. It's just beautiful here. On this side, we got a bit of a beach. And out there's Mary Lake. So my last job there, and every day that I'm going to work, by the way, I'm dreading it more and more and more. I'm not digging it. Not so much because the type of work is mind-numbing, and it was just like a robot should be doing it. It just couldn't afford robots or whatever, right? Didn't take much brain power, and that's not my style or my thing. Creativity was zero, and it made me want to throw up. So now I'm just realizing while I'm telling the story, maybe it wasn't just the smell of the pickles wanted me to, or made me want to throw up. Maybe it was the mind-numbing work that made me want to throw up too. So the last job I had was in almost the exact middle of the line. So the empty jars would come along and these machines would pour the pickles and the juice into the jars as they're whipping by, and then but it wouldn't be quite full. So they always wanted the jars to be full of pickles. So the last 3 or 4 pickles would get inserted to every jar by hand, by, in this case, ladies. I don't know why it was ladies, but and so the assembly line would go by and there'd be 5 ladies on this side of the line and 5 ladies on that side of the line, and as the jars would go by, they'd have buckets of pickles beside them, and they'd pick up 3 pickles and just start jamming them into empty jars. So between the 10 ladies, they'd get all the pickles, every jar would be full. And then after the ladies and before the next machine that would screw the lids on every jar, they would all the jars would get lined back up into a single row again, and the super fast machine would screw the lids on. But between that machine and the ladies was my next job, which was, if there's, hello, how are you? It's okay. Look at you, happy. Him or her? Him? You're a happy boy, eh? Wow.
Happy but irritating.
Yeah. Happy dog, holy cow. So, happy dog, I like that dog. So the machine that put the lids on couldn't have any pickles sticking out of the top. Insert me with like a whack-a-mole type tool that would fit the opening of the jar perfectly, and therefore I'd have to aim and smack the top of every jar as it went past, and break off any pickles that were sticking out. Look at these dogs. Happy dog day. So I'd be doing whack-a-mole for 8 hours. Bang, 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 this whole time. My wrist would be just killing me. I can't imagine these days doing that, or being expected to do that. Having someone explain to you that's what your job. You're supposed to, you know, get this repetitive wrist injury because you're the shock trauma. I don't know. No one ever thought about it back then, though. I guess that was just someone's job. So that was my job at that point. And so I gave it my all. I really did. I gave it my absolute all for the first 2 weeks solid. I just, no, this is my job, and I hate it, but I gotta keep going. And so I'm 17, and every day I come home, my mom's asking me, oh, how'd work go? And I'd be explaining the thing to her, and she'd tell me a cool story about how she hated one of her jobs in the past or whatever, and like, don't be weak, you know what I mean? So she would invigorate me to keep going, and then I would, and then so I gave it my all for the first 2 weeks solid. And then after that, the one day I'm on my bike, and the sun's coming up, and it looks like it's gonna be a gorgeous day, and I've done this for 2 weeks. I've done each of these 3 jobs, and I know, like, there's no good job that I'm enjoying there. So I didn't turn in the parking lot. I just rode right. I couldn't make myself. I couldn't, like, force. My brain didn't tell my hands and my arms to turn the handlebars and go. I slowed down, but I couldn't force myself to turn into the parking lot. So this is in Dunnville, Ontario, where Bix Pickles is, and I just rode right on by. And 15 minutes later or whatever, I ended up in the next Font Hill was one of the next towns, and I said, okay, well, I better find a phone booth so I can call work and tell them I'm either going to be late or fake sick or something, you know. And so I fake sick. I told them. I found a phone booth at a Becker's parking lot or something, and then called in. Said, hey man, I'm not feeling too good. Okay, I'll see. I'll be in tomorrow. And then I think I did go in the next day, but it just, the next week I did it twice. The week after I probably did it 3 or 4 times. It just got more and more and more, and then finally I packed it in. But I'd have a harder time forcing myself to pull in the parking lot and actually do this type of work. My hat's off to anybody who does that type of work. I don't know how you do it. You're better than I am. You really are. I couldn't. It's not me. It's just not who I am. Nothing wrong with that type of work, but man, it doesn't jive with my personality. So I'd have to keep riding around because I'm not supposed to be home from work until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I just ride around my motorcycle all day on like $2 worth of gas kind of thing. And it was great. It was great. I'd get home and my mom would ask me how work went, and I'd tell her it was fine. And wouldn't tell her story or anything. And then finally, at the end, when I knew for sure, then I told her, look, I got to find a different summer job because this one, I can't do it, Mom. I can't. It's just not happening. So, but it was a good lesson though, because I needed to learn who I was. I needed to learn what I'm about and what I like and what I don't like. And I learned real fast. Didn't take me years and years to learn that lesson. It took me probably the first day. I just forced myself to do it every day for the whole first, or for the 2 weeks, and then after that it got harder and harder to force myself. So I think it's very important, it's very valuable to know who you are and to know what you're capable of and what you're not. And the sooner you can do that, the better. And I was able to learn that at like 17. And then, so the next year I worked for a framer again, and we built houses, and that was, it's like the movie Office Space, but his whole life is kind of shambles, and he's looking for a way out. At the end of the movie, he doesn't work in an office anymore. He's just all smiles, and he goes to work and builds houses every day for some sort of a construction company with his buddy. It's the little things. It's just knowing not everybody has to work in an office. Not everybody has to work in a factory. You can do what you want. You can try different things and understand who you are. So if you haven't figured out who you are yet, please go do it, because it gets so much better.